Come on in. How is everyone today? Whoop. Stay. Okay. Hi. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Come on in, get yourself situated. You know what? This is crooked. Let's get this one out. That feels better. An incoming ad break. Hey, I love it.
We don't make mistakes.
Hello, everybody.
Yo.
Come on in. I genuinely like, I don't know how I feel about weighing stuff today. I kind of feel like, I don't know if I want to use the kitchen scale or if I feel like doing some imperial measurements. I guess we'll find out as I go. Let's see, I need a knife. There we go. Cool. Hello, Happy New Year. Welcome in, Happy New Year. I'm gonna need to plug this in back here. Ugh. We'll be plugging a bunch of stuff in all over the place today. Yeah, I had a smaller version of this. I don't know what the ounces of them are. I think it was like a 24 ounce or whatever. And then I started working away from the house part-time, and I don't get like breaks, and I kind of can't, and I'm like gone all day. And so I kind of was like, I need something bigger because I can't keep refilling my water bottle. So then I stole Lep's 40 ounce, and I've been using it. I'm like, you can refill a smaller one whenever you want. I can't. I'm taking the big guy. Yeah, okay, so I walked out of the house this morning because we had a delivery on the front porch, and I opened the door in like shorts and a t-shirt and picked this box up, and I walked outside and was like, it's not even cold in the morning anymore. It was like 7 o'clock in the morning, and it was like maybe 40 degrees Fahrenheit, like, ugh. It's a Carrie stream. Good morning, everything is well. Are we ready? I'm sitting here like making this schedule in December going by January. It will be nice and chilly. Hot cocoa will be excellent. Everybody's gonna wanna have some in their pantry because it's gonna be cold. It's been so warm. Hey, thank you. I got all the, I like looked at, so like I kind of like pre-prep, right? Ingredients and notes and things like that. And I made sure I had all of the ingredients, but I didn't make sure that I had some extra stuff. Actually, did you want this spiked at all?
No.
No? Okay.
I have 61 of them.
Yeah. Because I bought schnapps. I bought mint schnapps, and then we have the whiskey and the Irish cream upstairs. So if you're interested in anything being spiked,
cool.
Then you should definitely bring that
We
down.
don't make
I
mistakes.
did not.
We have happy accidents.
Really? What time?
And check.
That's not great.
Not the best.
I'm supposed to fly out that day. Fun. They're terrible. It's fine though.
Not the best.
No. I don't know why they started putting little, it's like quinoa or something in there and it's really annoying.
Whack-a-moo, 6 for 56.
You're
This one's for
interested in the
Carrie.
Irish whiskey? You measure with your heart on hot chocolate.
Sure the
Just
camera's
saying.
on Stand where you're going.
Okay. Yeah, I guess you can make an iced cocoa. That sounds fine. You can make an iced cocoa.
Mistakes.
Just know like it's gonna get watered
Happy
down.
accidents.
So I'd probably like we could talk about this during stream. But I'd probably make it thicker than I would otherwise if I was having it hot, and then that way when it gets poured over ice, it doesn't dilute too much, right? Get him out of there. Yeah, he was just helping me. I forgot to bring milk down so that way I can make some hot cocoa. Because like the recipes for the mix, and then there's like instructions on if you want to like, how much mix you need for a cup of milk, for like 240 mils of milk. And I figured I would make some hot cocoa. Might as well make the mix and then make the cocoa, right? Our holidays were filled with delicious eats. The potatoes are probably the best you've ever made. Turned 4 family members onto the spoon site. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Leave a comment. Give it 5 stars. Oh man, I'm glad the recipe worked.
We don't make mistakes. We have happy accidents.
You could freeze cocoa in the ice cube so it doesn't get watery. That is true. You could do that. If I pour my ice cubes in a Ziploc bag and throw it in, if you're gonna, okay, so that's, I'm sure you're trying to be a little on the nose there, but just get whiskey rocks or whatever they're called, where it's just like little plastic. They're like if you were gonna have the ice packs, and you stick them in like a lunchbox. They're just teeny tiny. You freeze them. They're like little ice cubes, and you toss them in, but they're plastic, so the liquid inside freezes and melts, but none of it gets into your drink. I forget, there's a ton of different brands. Like I remember seeing that first come out and like start to be around in like the early 2000s.
Make mistakes.
As like a
Happy
thing.
accidents.
So like I know there's so many options when it comes to that. The Colorado kitchen, the Colorado second kitchen. This is the downstairs kitchen. And yes, it is fire, but it doesn't have an oven, which is frustrating. Okay, so today, hello, possibly Ben in the YouTube chat. I need to make this bigger. This is not big enough for me. Hold on 1 second. I need to make the YouTube chat bigger because the text is far too small and I will not be able to see it. Where on earth? There we go. Oh. Weird. What did you open for YouTube? Not that. Which? What did you use for YouTube? No, but you should have the stream open somewhere. That's the pop out, isn't it?
Just the pop out. I closed the other thing.
Oh, you closed it. Okay, so then I can't make it bigger then.
Zoom?
I can't make it bigger. I mean, I can.
Yeah, just.
Okay.
I was looking for a cinder for you here.
Oh, that's okay. Don't worry about it. I just want to get started.
Okay.
It is time. Okie dokie. Let's see. Ha! Nice diversion. accidentally overboiled potatoes, but it still came out good. Pushed them through a sieve with a spoon since I didn't have a ricer trade out. That's fine. That's totally fine. I love it. Okay. I don't know what I'm saying. Okay, so today is gonna be the same but kind of different from normal streams. For those of us who are here during the live. I just want to let you guys know that I'm gonna make these two recipes like separate, as if they were two separate videos. Instead of kind of, there's no need to jump back and forth on these recipes because they're both kind of relatively quick. And so I think what I'm gonna do is just kind of intro and outro. So like first I'm gonna do the hot cocoa. So if you're here to watch hot cocoa, we can talk about some hot cocoa. And then I'm gonna do my intro. Hey, welcome. Today we're making hot cocoa, all that jazz. And then, you know, thanks for joining me. You know, next we're making whatever the heck. And then I'm gonna start up, hi, thanks for joining me, and do the toasted marshmallow fluff. That way I can put them separately into each page on my website. So you're gonna be hearing me do an intro and an outro, an intro and an outro. Please don't be weirded out. I'm not going anywhere. I actually am doing two recipes today.
Happy accidents.
So. Okay. I love that I can't see this emote. All I see is lep spoon. I know what it looks like, but I can't see the emote. Aw, sad. Bye Christmas emotes. Okay, I guess before I get started, do I have anybody who is cooking with me today? Anybody that's following along? Anybody that is interested in making this at a later date? Where do we stand today? Hey, Josher. I'm not ready for the memes. No, apparently not. Making it in the near future? Okay. Are you, just out of curiosity, are you more interested in having like kind of pantry hot cocoa mix, or are you interested in the fluff, in the marshmallow fluff? You're interested in the toasted marshmallow fluff? What is that? Nice. It's basically like marshmallows that stay a soft consistency, like a scoopable consistency. And then we're gonna hit it with a butane torch and play with a little bit of fire. And hopefully, I don't think there's no fire alarm in here. It should be fine. I didn't set it off the last couple times I made it, but that was also in a different house. So we'll see. The pantry hot cocoa. Okay, cool. It's so easy. It's so easy. And I'm gonna talk a lot about like substitutions and like ways to kind of what's it called? Like when you like make it to your tastes. Starts with a C. Customize. Different ways to customize it to your tastes and all that kind of stuff. So intrigued by the fluff, but definitely the hot cocoa. Okay. I assumed that the hot cocoa would be kind of the thing that people would find like more kind of like I can do that thing. But yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm planning to toast the fluff and put it on top of some hot cocoa. That is the plan for me today. That's why I figured they would pair very well together. So. I do have one thing I want to check real quick. The KitchenAid mixer. I know, I have a white KitchenAid mixer too. I bet you if I got some stickers, I could make it look like R2. That'd be hilarious, actually. I think that'd be super funny. Okay. I want to check one thing. The marshmallow fluff is really fun. I really like playing with the butane in the kitchen. Just, you know. And I mean, the thing is too, is it's like we're making it from scratch, right? But you can also just buy like a jar of marshmallow fluff from the store and like scoop it out of the container, put it in a stand mixer, toast it, and then put it back in. So like you could technically just like not make the recipe from scratch. Like you could buy it and just toast it yourself and it'll be fine. Okay. Okay, let's get started. Oh, ooh. Hey, Brad. You made the margs for New Year's. Which ones? Did you do the pineapple poblano ones or did you do the oleo sacrum like classic margarita? Were they good? I don't know what "it did some work" means. Does that mean that you just... Well, I mean, I understand that, but like, did work, but like, were they good? Or were they just strong? Like, where are we? What does that mean? He couldn't stop drinking them? Okay. I'm sorry, I don't understand. Salted caramel hot chocolates are incredible. That sounds really nice. A salted caramel hot chocolate. I'd be down. I'd be down for that. Yes, I'm gonna do the hot chocolate mix first, and then I'm going to do the marshmallow fluff, the toasted marshmallow fluff second. Daniel didn't know why they were so strong. He couldn't taste the alcohol. Oh no. That's funny. That's really funny. Yeah, and they're really drinkable. It's a problem. Okay, I'm gonna get started. Let's do this. Okay, whenever you are ready, baby, I am good to go.
We don't make mistakes. We have happy accidents.
Probably should have brought a hair tie down here. Oof. Are you good? Am I ready? Are you ready? Yeah, because I have to cut up and prep some chocolate, and then it goes in the freezer, and then ingredients just get kind of added into this guy here. So like, I can always do this too if you want me to keep it on the cutting board. Okay. Actually, you know what? Give me 1 second. Probably a good idea to actually have something. It is what it is. Okay. Cool? Yep. 3, 2, 1. Hi, and welcome to the A Little Spoon Kitchen. Today, I'm going to be making some hot cocoa mix, and it is a wonderful thing to keep in your pantry. It lasts about 6 months, so, is shelf stable, and it's January, so I just kind of figured it's hopefully going to get chilly sometime in the year of our Lord 2025 during winter. Who knows? It's unseasonably warm, but I'm still holding out hope that we're going to get some snow where I live in Colorado eventually. And these hot cocos will be absolutely amazing when that happens. So I'm getting prepped. Like I said, this last 6 months, at some point it will get cold. So I can go ahead and pull out this hot cocoa mix and use it to make some wonderful hot cocoa for myself. I do plan to go through kind of all the ingredients little by little, give you information about why I use them, give you information on how to customize if you don't want to purchase and or don't have access to certain ingredients. I know it can kind of be hard, especially if you don't want to shop online, to find different specialty ingredients. And so I will help you guys work around that and give you kind of an understanding of what the base ingredients are, how they work, and then how you can change it to how you like it. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing that you're going to need is you're going to need 4 ounces of unsweetened chocolate. Blech. Unsweetened chocolate. So I actually have a couple of different brands here. I want to talk a little bit about chocolate real quick. I'm probably going to end up, I've never used the Guittard. I will find this in the store. This is at most grocery stores. It's the Ghirardelli 100% cacao. They do have other levels. I think they have like a 72 and an 80 intense dark or something like that, and like a 60%. There's like a bunch of other ones. But I'm specifically going with the 100% because we do add sugar to this. And then we also do add, I'm adding blonde chocolate. Blonde chocolate is listed in the ingredients on this recipe, but also white chocolate would be kind of the substitute for that. And so you have a lot of sugar coming from other places. And if you want that really rich, bitter, deep chocolate flavor, you're gonna wanna use the 100%. And so I typically will use this. This is also an option that I've seen in stores. It's basically like some baker's chocolate. It says it's baker's premium. I don't know much about this brand and its background. I will typically use this in something like brownies or where I don't think, I don't know, brownies, maybe like a coating of something like that. I just prefer to have something that I know is a higher quality chocolate from the start. The thing about America, is that we tend to put a lot of different kinds of fats into our chocolate. In the US, there's kind of like different levels, I should say, different levels of chocolate just in general. This is true around the world, but mostly it's a thing in the US where you might have like, say, chocolate morsels or melting wafers or something like that. Which don't really need to have, like the wafers don't really need to have like cocoa butter. It's usually got other stuff in it. And then you get into the morsels, which have like anti-caking agents and preservatives and things kind of coating the outside of them. They typically have some kind of like palm oil or like a wax or something like that in them to help them keep shape when you're putting them into cookies and other baked goods, which is not a bad thing. It's just not the best thing when you're trying to have something melt really well, have a really good texture and a really good flavor. You kind of lose out on texture and flavor when you're using something that has other stuff in it. And so like it might be great for cookies, it might be great for brownies. The morsels are like pancakes or something like that because they hold shape, but they're not going to be great when it comes to melting and flavor. And so you kind of move into the more like premium chocolates, right? And so you go from like, say, morsels into like, you know, a regular chocolate bar. So something like this will be better than using morsels. So if you're not sure, if you want to spend the money on something that's a little bit closer to like a couverture chocolate, which I will explain in a minute, this will be better than a morsel. So it's kind of like a step up. So instead of using those, go for here. And then if you want to step up further from that, you can go to this guy, and then into the Guittard. And then there is something beyond that called couverture chocolate, which is a company like Callebut, a company like Valhrona. And those look kind of like this. These are couverture wafers. This is the company Valhrona. This is their Dulcey. This is a blonde chocolate, which is essentially like a toasted white chocolate. I'm so excited to explain what that is to you guys. So this is a toasted white chocolate. You'll notice it is not the color of white chocolate. It's kind of like a brown color, and that's because the milk solids in the white chocolate, right, get toasted and cooked until they turn they have like a caramelly flavor and they turn a caramelized color. And so yeah, so blonde chocolate is really yummy. And you can make this at home if you don't want to buy it. It can be really expensive. I think the last time I bought this, I spent $26 on like on a less than a pound bag. So it is very expensive. And you can make it at home. I will explain how to do that as we move forward, but just so that we keep going down this line of couverture chocolate. Okay, so the thing that you need to have when you're working with, or when you're looking for couverture chocolate and you want to make sure that you have kind of the real thing, it has to have 35% cacao. You'll see it here on the label. So 35% cocoa butter here, okay? Or sorry, 35% cacao, and then it needs to have at least 31% cocoa butter. So this is 35% cocoa butter. So this falls firmly within like couverture. The 35% cacao is like if you were doing a semi-sweet into bittersweet into whatever. So, you know, this one has 100% cacao. So this in theory would count, but it also needs to have at least 31% cocoa butter. And so that's kind of where it needs to fall into both of those things. So at least 35% cacao and then at least 31% cocoa butter. And that's what gives you the really rich kind of expensive chocolate. But it is going to give you the best results when it comes to things that really rely on that. So if you are making frosting, if you are making ganache, if you are making a chocolate sauce, if you are making hot cocoa, like, and you want to have that really rich flavor and rich texture, those chocolates are going to end up better than something like, say, this guy, or if you're doing like chocolate morsels or chocolate chips. So yes, this is technically, okay, so, and I know I said that, this is technically couverture because it's got the over 31% cocoa butter, but because it's white chocolate, it doesn't have cocoa powder in it. So technically, like there's people, like the people in the purists, I should say, would say white chocolate's not chocolate because it doesn't have cocoa powder. I don't really fall into that category as far as I'm concerned. It's chocolate. To me, it's chocolate. So let's go forward. I'm gonna use Guittard for the first time. I've not used them before. I want to know kind of what this is like. The end result's gonna taste like. I typically, like I said, use the Ghirardelli. But we need 4 ounces. This is a 6-ounce box that I found. That's got little 2-ounce bars in it. I'm gonna chop these guys up a little bit. I'm gonna need this too. If you notice, actually, let me bring this up as well. So there are other premium brands out there. Premium on the packaging. It's just gonna say they call themselves premium. And so you kind of just go with it. But like Lindt, I think Ritter's probably, like there's a bunch of different like other chocolate brands out there that do 100% bars. Just make sure that you're looking at the bottom. So like this specifically says premium baking. And anytime you see baking on a label, where's the other one? Here, Baker's premium baking bar. They're specifically gonna have 4 ounces or 113.5 grams. That is how much these bars are going to be. It is a consistent measurement or like net weight or whatever. That is kind of like an across the board thing. When you get into like bars and stuff that you just go into the candy aisle and you find a bar, you may find 100%, but it's probably gonna be something like 3 point whatever ounces and 100 grams. Like it'll say like 100 gram bar instead of 113.5, and you're losing that. And so you'd have to pay, like buy 2 bars in order to have the correct amount. So just make sure also, I really highly suggest that you check your net weight to make sure that when you do go to the store to buy these ingredients, if you are making it at a later date, that you are getting enough when you go to the store and you're not just buying like one bar. For those of you, I guess since I have said the magic words of at a later date, while I chop up this chocolate bar or these chocolate bars, let's have a quick discussion about what this is. If you've stumbled upon this, this is a live. I'm currently streaming live to a bunch of people on the internet, on YouTube and on Twitch, about making this hot cocoa mix. But you may have found this video on YouTube, in one of my playlists or on my website, and you stumbled into it and you're watching it, and welcome. Very nice to have you here. But I do these kind of cook-alongs once a month. Just a lot of fun. Pick a recipe on my website and go for it. So welcome. And there are plenty more of these where they came from. But I will be talking to the camera with a bunch of information. I will be looking at my chat here often. So if I'm like looking off to the side and then talking to the screen, it's because I actually have live people here asking me questions, and I will be answering them. So that's what's going on. I think I'm people. You are people. Here, let me move this a little out of the way. Ugh. I am left-handed and my elbow likes to go this way. Okay, so essentially what I'm doing is I'm just breaking this into smaller pieces. They don't really need to be this small, but I'm breaking this into smaller pieces so that when I put them into my food processor, they're not so big that they get like stuck and wedged in between the blades. And also they will freeze faster if they are small pieces. And we want that to happen. These bars, so the Ghirardelli bars are easier to chop. It's so pretty. Look, we like double wrap stuff. This is like fancy. The Ghirardelli bars are thinner, so they're easier to chop, and I can kind of just like chop like normal, but these I can't, so I'm kind of like having to get a little aggressive here with this chocolate bar. It's freaking me out. I actually took the top of my finger off almost completely once chopping chocolate. So chocolate, I get like really nervous chopping up chocolate. My thumb slipped, or my index finger slipped under the knife, and I did a thing. Okay, so we have our 4 ounces of 100% unsweetened chocolate. I know, right? Yep. And now I'm working with chocolate all the time. Okay, and now we're gonna do, where did my blonde chocolate go? We're gonna open this guy up. I'm gonna weigh it out. We need 1.3 ounces, about 37.5 grams of blonde chocolate. I will chop these as well. Oh, these have been in here a while. Let's see. Okay, so as I mentioned before, this is blonde chocolate. This is white chocolate that was toasted, not caramelized. I think it's kind of funny. I think on the website, I wrote that it's caramelized, and it's actually not. It's toasted. If it were caramelized, it would melt. So, my bad. I'm going to go back, I think, and fix that on the recipe online. But in other places where I talk about toasting white chocolate, I think in the Scotchies recipe, that gives a lot more information in that one. Okay. Now, you can make this if you really wanted to. It takes like 1 to 2 hours in the oven, depending on how interested you are in having the color be like super dark. Like you can kind of get it to like where it's just starting to change. And then you can get it all the way to something that's similar to this color. And essentially you take white chocolate bars, right? Kind of lay them out on a silicone lined half sheet baking tray. And then you put it in an oven. I think I have, did I list out what the whole thing was? I don't have the steps in here. It's 225 degrees. I do not for the life of me remember what that is in Celsius. Sorry to my Celsius people. But it's 225 degrees. And you kind of like every 10 minutes or so, you go and you kind of scrape it and move the melting chocolate around until it starts to turn brown. But you have to be, it's like passive, but also active cooking, because it's like you have to be aware enough to like remember something is in the oven and go checking on it, because there are lots of times I put something in the oven that's like a low and slow situation and I forget it exists. But with the white chocolate, you kind of have to keep up with it. And make sure that you go back every 10 minutes to give it a swirl, or it does start to burn. So you have to be kind of careful. But it's 107. Thank you to my people. So 225 degrees Fahrenheit or 170 degrees Celsius in your oven. Do not do forced fan. Just kind of leave it on a baking, like regular baking. We're not doing anything crazy. So no convection. And you can just kind of keep moving that around. Now, I will say this, that is not tempering. Like, it's not going to come out pretty. It's going to be dull. It's going to, not look amazing, but it will taste correct and it will melt correct. Because the point here, right, is that we're turning this into a hot cocoa mix. This is not to like dip anything or to make a whole new chocolate bar and like take white chocolate to the blonde chocolate and then pour it into something and have nice, shiny, crisp, like chocolate candies. We're not doing that. We're just making it into what it needs to be so that we can use it for a recipe. And so don't, like, if there is instructions, I did the thing and I did put instructions for tempering blonde chocolate on the recipe, on this hot cocoa mix recipe. So if you really want to do it, you can, but it's unnecessary for this recipe. So you have like how to make it. And then also if you really need it, you have how to temper it, but you don't actually need it. So, I'm going to put this now in my freezer. And it's going to stay in there while we measure out the rest of our ingredients. The reason it's going in the freezer is because when anything goes into a food processor, a blender, whatever that looks like, there's agitation. And that agitation and that friction between the ingredients causes heat. So we need the chocolate to be as cold as possible because when you start blending it, it's going to heat up and we don't want it to melt or get like weird and clumpy or any of that kind of stuff against the blades in our food processor. So we are freezing it. That is the purpose of that. Okay. It's not gonna come out pretty. I know. You guys are so funny. Okay, let's move on. I was checking chat. I feel like we're good. Okay, so now we're gonna start measuring out our other ingredients. Let me grab another bowl. I don't have any of my, I don't think I brought any of my mixing bowls or anything down here. We're just gonna use our soup bowls, because why not? Okay, so we need a half a cup or about 110 grams of refined granulated sugar. This is where we're gonna start talking about individual ingredients, and then I'll kind of try to tie back at the end on how everything works. Because I tested a whole bunch of stuff. I ended up using the refined granulated sugar because I think that it made the chocolate, like it left the chocolate to be what it is, right? So I tested so many versions of this. I tested so many different ingredients. Light brown chocolate, or light chocolate, or what the heck chocolate? Light brown sugar, dark brown sugar. I used turbinado, I used an unrefined sugar, I used refined sugar, and then I even used, and this is what it looks like, I used toasted sugar. So toasted sugar, very much like our toasted white chocolate over here, is putting sugar in the oven and toasting it and getting it just to this caramel color before it melts. So you're keeping it at a point where it browns and you're getting that toasted situation, a little bit of that Maillard reaction without it caramelizing all the way, right? And this was really good, but it takes a really long time. It takes a long time, and it's just, to me, it was like kind of not worth it. Like if I could buy that ingredient, you can't really buy this. Like this is something you would have to make, and I don't know. I was like, I'm not going to do this. Another option, if you really wanted to, is you probably could caramelize. I don't know, for anybody that's seen the movie Chef, that he does like a thing in one of the scenes where he kind of caramelizes sugar until it's like a nice like amber brown color, and then pours it out, cracks it because it's hit hard crack stage, right? Cracks it up, puts it in a blender, and then that gets used. In theory, that's kind of the same thing. He just caramelized it and then let it kind of harden and come back to the solid state and then went backwards with that one. You may get a little bit of a burnt sugar taste depending on how far you let that go, but I guess if you wanted to do it really quick, you could do it that way as well. Up to you. I'm just gonna say all the things and hopefully everybody follows me with this. Okay, so, oh, I did 100, I need 110, might be. Okay, so it's, yeah, as I said, we need 110 or half a cup of our refined granulated sugar. I ended up with this, I think the toasted sugar was really good, but I really wanted the chocolate to shine in the hot cocoa mix. And so that's where I went. That's kind of where I went with the refined sugar. And I will say too is there's a bit of a balance, right? So like I've added a little bit of that caramel flavor by using the Dulcey, Valhrona Dulcey by using the blonde chocolate. If you do not want to purchase this, you could just use white chocolate, but you do need some form of a bittersweet or a 100% cocoa chocolate, and you also need a white chocolate. So one is giving you that chocolate flavor, and then the other one is giving you a creaminess, and it's giving you a texture that you would otherwise not have if you did not use the white chocolate. So those two ingredients are important. And then how you determine what level of unsweetened you want, or like, you know, what level of like caramelization and kind of something that's gonna like mellow down the chocolate flavor is really up to you. You could go full, like everything is clean, everything is exactly the ingredient it's meant to be. I'm using exactly white chocolate, I'm using refined sugar, I'm using 100% a chocolate bar, 100% unsweetened chocolate bar, and it can just be like a super pure form. Or you can start adding mellowing ingredients like a toasted sugar or a brown sugar or a caramelized white chocolate, not caramelized, a toasted white chocolate. You can do any of those things to kind of like mellow it down and give it a kind of a warmer flavor and a less really bright chocolate flavor. Another thing that I did, and I guess I'm going to skip over the salt and we'll talk about Dutch cocoa right now, is I used Dutch cocoa. There are 3 different kinds of cocoa powder that you can get at the store. You can get a natural cocoa powder, you can get a Dutch processed cocoa powder, and you can also do a black cocoa powder. Now, I chose the middle ground there. Black cocoa powder, it's basically, it's like a continuing process that changes the pH balance. So natural cocoa is more acidic, and it almost tastes, it's brighter and it's floral and a little bit fruity in a way that the Dutch is not. Dutch process is a higher pH, it's got a higher pH and it's more earthy. It tastes like a deeper chocolate flavor. And again, like I said, I wanted the chocolate to be really pronounced in this one. And only very slightly mellowed. And so I went with a Dutch process because the natural cocoa was too acidic and I didn't feel like it gave a really deep chocolate flavor. I did not do the black cocoa powder. The black cocoa powder has an even higher pH level and it is very, very bitter. And so that's something that I would only suggest using if you feel like playing around with it. And this is fully up to you if you want to like riff on the instructions and the ingredients. If you want to switch out some of your chocolate, so instead of doing 100% unsweetened, if you did an 80% or something between like 60 and 72%, and with kind of like a semi-sweet or a bittersweet chocolate, and then did the black cocoa powder, that may give you a balance. It will be a different flavor, but it may give you a better balance than doing like 100% unsweet and then something that's very, very like earthy, unsweet, bitter. We don't want to like amp up the bitterness. We want to kind of balance them. So if you decide to go that way and it's just something you already have in your pantry or whatever, then I do highly recommend kind of messing around with the sweetness in your chocolate if you're going to go super, super like bitter in the cocoa powder. Anyway, we need about a half a cup of the Dutch process unsweetened cocoa powder, which is about 50 grams. So let's zero this guy out. And I don't know how much I have left in this. I may need to open up the second bag. There's honestly like, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, hey, I'm showing you how to do a recipe, but also like this is one of those things where you really, it's probably better if I had just written it as like a ratio and then just let people play around with it. which is kind of the intention of what I was going for, but yeah, hopefully this is helpful. Okay, half a teaspoon of Diamond Crystal kosher salt, which is about 1.4 grams. I'm literally just gonna use my hands because whatever. I specifically use Diamond Crystal kosher salt. I think it has a less compressed flake, so it breaks apart easier, it melts easier, and it is not as salty as other salts are. I think probably the other one that's used most often is probably a Morton kosher salt. Morton kosher salt is 30% saltier than Diamond Crystal kosher salt by volume. So if I were gonna do like a half a teaspoon, like I just did now, a half a teaspoon of Morton kosher salt is 30% saltier than a half a teaspoon of Diamond Crystal kosher salt. If you use a kitchen scale, okay, and that's why I try to provide grams in as many ingredients as possible. If you use a kitchen scale, you can weigh them exactly the same and you will end up with the exact same amount of salt taste-wise. But if you go by volume and you're using these guys, you will need to use less salt for if you're using Morton than you do if you're using the Diamond Crystal kosher salt. So I highly recommend using a kitchen scale and just going by it that way if you're changing up the salt. And I specifically list the Diamond Crystal to make sure people know what ingredient I'm using because salts in fact do taste different depending on their crystalline structure. So also that. Let's see. Now I need a tablespoon of cornstarch, which is about 9 grams of cornstarch. I thought I was going to use these today. I think I'm just going to use a spoon. I think I'm just going to do this. Oops. That was about 1. I had 1.5. I forgot to zero out. 1.5, that's about 2. Okay, so I need 7. So the cornstarch is going to work in 2 different ways. One, it's kind of going to be an anti-caking agent, right? So I'm sitting there talking about how don't use chocolate morsels because they have anti-caking agents. And here I am putting cornstarch into this. It's going to do 2 things. It's going to work as an anti-caking agent to help your ingredients from sticking to each other if in fact gets warm in your pantry or over time or any of that kind of stuff if moisture builds up. So it'll protect it from that. But then also as you boil your mix with some milk or whatever milk alternative you are using at home, it will help thicken the mixture up and give it a really good texture. So it kind of works dually and does like 2 completely different things in your hot cocoa. Now I am going to add espresso powder. You do not need to add espresso powder. I think it just makes chocolate taste chocolatier, I don't know, more heavy chocolate. I don't know what word I was trying to use there. And I like it better with the espresso powder in it. Absolutely not necessary. It's a half a teaspoon of espresso powder, which is about 0.75 grams. Please pick up. There we go. Okay. And then I almost felt like I wasn't going to do this today, but I might as well. I rarely use vanilla powder. The last thing I'm going to put in here is vanilla powder. And this is kind of one of those things where like I just couldn't be bothered to take out vanilla every time I make hot cocoa. I like vanilla in my hot cocoa. But if I use an extract, I'd have to like add it every time. And I was like, I'm just going to buy some vanilla powder and put that directly into the mix so that I don't have to worry about remembering to add vanilla extract or like taking it out and kind of going with it. And so that's where the powder came from, is just because I like to have vanilla in my hot cocoa. and I didn't want to have to add it every time I made it. So it went into the mix. That's where we're going. Yes, it is Grandma Slayer. I will talk about toasted milk powder. Yes, they make, this one is specifically Watkins vanilla powder. I want to say I got this at Trader Joe's, but I'm pretty sure that I've seen this. I feel like I've seen this other places too. And Watkins is a really, is a big brand for like extracts and spices and stuff like that. So you probably see it elsewhere. Okay, zero that out. It's only a 1/4 teaspoon. Oh, I guess I am going to do this. I really don't, it would be too hard to, oh, it'd be too hard to weigh it out. So I'm only using a 1/4 teaspoon. The cool thing about vanilla, you don't need a lot of vanilla. Vanilla goes a long way. Okay. Toss that guy in. Okay, and that's our vanilla powder. If you wanted to, I think I have a note about the vanilla powder in here. Let me see. I do not. If you, I mean, honestly, you can really measure vanilla with your heart because it's kind of one of those things that it's like, it's powerful, but it never overpowers anything because it's such a subtle flavor. So like, if you wanted to, you could put like, just put a couple drops of vanilla extract into your hot cocoa when you're making it. If you don't want to go and buy the powder and you have extract at home, totally something you can do. You can leave it out. You don't need, it's like this totally an optional ingredient. You can leave it out if you also really want to. But I do want to make sure that, you know, like you don't need to add, like you don't need a lot of vanilla, just like a couple drops and you'll be good to go. If you're adding it at the time that you're making your cup of hot cocoa. And honestly, that is it. So we're going to dump these in. I like that I added all of this to a bowl and then proceeded to dump it into a secondary container instead of just using that container in the first place. Goat me. I'm just gonna make sure that I get everything out of this bowl because some of it's stuck a little bit. There we go. Okay. And then I'm going to give it a quick blitz just to make sure the ingredients are mixed. And then I'm going to add in our chocolate bars, our chopped up chocolate bars. Might be a little loud. I guess we've got a compressor on the mic, so hopefully it won't be too bad. But this won't be loud yet. The chocolate bars will be loud because they're frozen. Okay, so we're just gonna give that a couple of blitzes, knock stuff down a little bit, and then I'm gonna grab my chocolate, which has been in here for a good amount of time and is nice and cold. Okay. Okay, it's gonna be a little loud. This doesn't take very long though. Okay. Okay, and you will hear, so it'll be really, really loud to start and really high pitched, and then the pitch will get lower and lower and lower until it just sounds like powder is moving around, and that's essentially when you're done. Like I'm just gonna open this up. Take a quick look. You don't want any large pieces left. So let's just check the texture here. We'll move this under the camera. Yeah, so this is pretty good. I might give this just another like couple of seconds, but you can see like it's broken up into really small pieces. And essentially, you don't, I mean, technically I could mix it with just what it was chopped, but it takes so long to melt into the milk. Right? And so that's kind of what you're trying to do is you're trying to make it something that will start immediately melting into your milk or your milk alternative when you're making your cup of hot cocoa. And so the smaller the pieces, the better it is, right? And so that's kind of what we're going for. Say that without this running. That's what we're going for. Okay. So we are done, and that's it. That is it. I guess what I can do real quick is we can actually make a cup of hot cocoa. And get this out of the way. Does anybody want to make a cup of hot cocoa right now? We can do that. I'll make multiples today. Ugh. There we go. Okay. We're gonna plug this guy in. So I have a cooktop over here and I can face you guys while I work instead of being the other direction. There it goes. Okay. And while I make this, we can talk about a couple of other things, namely mix-ins and other ingredients. Okay. So I am, in fact, going to use some volumetric measuring, just because it is easier with liquid. Okay, so for a cup of hot cocoa, now that we have made this, and I'm sure this looks a bit of a mess, let's get some of this stuff out of the way. Just make a little bit more room. Almost ready. Uh-oh. Is the white balance being weird? Okay, we're gonna do a single cup. We keep whole milk in the house. That is our milk of choice. You can do essentially anything you want. The only thing for a milk alternative, there's like a couple of different things for you to kind of think about in your little brains, is this. If you are not using something as thick as whole milk is, okay, you're using something like a soy milk or just something like on the thinner side, a skim milk or a non-fat milk or whatever that looks like, you're gonna wanna add an extra half a teaspoon of cornstarch to your mix. Let's see, that's gonna be about 3 grams. So you're gonna want like an extra 3 grams or a half a teaspoon of cornstarch added into your mixture to help thicken, right? So I mentioned earlier that the cornstarch does 2 things. It helps as an anti-caking agent, but it also helps thicken your hot cocoa when you're actually making it. Cornstarch works once it's boiled, it thickens and then continues to thicken as it cools. It just gives it a really nice mouthfeel. And so you're kind of using that to replicate the extra fat that's in whole milk that you're not getting in your milk alternative. So just consider that. Just think about adding a little bit extra cornstarch into your mix to help with the thickening of your cup of hot cocoa. And then the second thing to think about, if you are using almond milk, please make sure that you are using an almond milk that doesn't have carrageenan in it. It tastes a little weird, and it can be, it'll develop skin and it just doesn't, that ingredient specifically messes with a cup of hot cocoa. So just look at the label. And if you don't see that in it, then you're good to go. Otherwise, all other alternative milks are good. So just FYI on that one. All right, so let's turn this guy on, get him going. And it's gonna be 1 cup, 240 mils, 245 grams, depending on how you feel like weighing it. And 3 tablespoons of your hot cocoa mix, which is anywhere between 28 and 30 grams of hot cocoa mix. And essentially what I'm going to do, let me get, I know I have a whisk somewhere in here. Thought I brought it down. There we go. Let's talk about this real quick. So I've got a whisk. I am going to use a whisk kind of just to get things incorporated and get like the temperature kind of together. This is going to go pretty fast. But to actually finish off my hot cocoa, I'm going to use an immersion blender. So I'm going to use this hand blender to really get it. And the reason, right, is to really kind of, it's not going to actually homogenize, but it like really breaks everything up gets all of the fat and all of the sugar and liquid and water and whatever all really incorporated and what's the word I'm looking for? Oh my goodness, it starts with an I. I'm having a day, friends. Emulsified. It starts with an E. So we're really going to emulsify all of those ingredients together by making sure that we're kind of blending it. You could put it in a blender, but I feel like that's kind of overkill. A whisk really will work, but what happens is because the ingredients aren't really incorporated to the almost nth degree, it develops a skin. So like everybody knows, like you make a cup of hot cocoa, you pour the little packet in, and you make your hot cocoa, and then like it starts to develop a skin kind of on top. You can help that in two different ways. The first way is to keep the temperature between 145 and 160 degrees while you're making this, which is the equivalent of, I've got it somewhere around here, 63 to 74 degrees Celsius. So you kind of keep it in that range, and that's going to help stop the milk from scalding and creating that layer on top. So you kind of keep it in between there. You don't want it to boil, right? You want to keep it under that. And then you are going to give it like a hit with this immersion blender and really break all of those particles up so it takes longer for them to come together. So hopefully you've got a solid 15 to 20, 30 minutes or so before you develop any kind of skin that's like annoying. Cool. All right, and then I did in fact bring down, I have another one down here. I thought I had a temperature. I thought I did. I've got one, oh, there, it's in my mixing bowl. We got it. I'm just going to check the temperature on this. So you want this to be about 100 degrees or 38°C when you add it, which I'm already above that. So we're going to turn this way lower. Just so that the chocolate immediately starts melting. So cocoa powder, right? Cocoa powder, cornstarch, all that stuff, they're a little hygroscopic, which means that they don't want to melt into the liquid that you've got here, the milk. And so it actually is better if you wait until you have the heat to then have the chocolate start melting. Once the chocolate starts melting and the cocoa butter is like kind of incorporating, it pulls in all those hygroscopic things that don't want to mix with liquid. And you've got now fat in there that's going to kind of pull and incorporate it easier. And so that heat is really helpful. If you add this into a cold milk, it's just kind of sit on top. It's going to take a lot longer for it to incorporate. So this way, it's just faster. It's just faster if you wait a little bit longer. Have the patience. You can do it. I believe in you. Okay. This is actually the temperature that I want it to be. I started chatting with you guys and I didn't put it in fast enough, but it's fine. So I'm at 150, so I'm within that degree range on Fahrenheit. I think I'll say it again, that it's between 145 and 165 Fahrenheit is what you're looking for, which is 63 to 74 degrees Celsius. I tend to measure this with my heart. So the texture of this, and I'll say this here, so the texture of this is in between when you're dumping like a packet, right? When you're dumping a packet into some milk from the store and like a drinking chocolate, which is a much thicker situation. This is going to be a kind of middle ground to that. If you want it to be thinner, add less. If you want to have something closer to a drinking chocolate, add more. You can double this recipe. I typically do. I'll typically have like 2 jars of this in the pantry that we'll go through. And so I can kind of add whatever I'm feeling if I want it to be thicker. And then if I'm adding other ingredients, so like right now I only have a single cup of milk, but I might want to add, say, some other ingredients to spike it. So if I want to add, this is a peppermint schnapps. for some peppermint hot cocoa if you want to add in some Irish cream, which luckily is already pretty thick, so you're not messing with the texture there too much. But if you want to make sure that it's not overwhelming your hot cocoa mix, you want to add more mix to have the correct chocolatey flavor in there, so that it's not diluted by the Irish cream. You can add some whiskey, whatever you're looking to do, you can in fact do. Okay, so now this is at a good point for me to use my immersion blender. As you can see, I'm gonna point this out. So like this is as far as you're gonna get with a whisk. And this is typical, like of any homemade hot cocoa mix, is like you get little specks. They're like everything is melted, everything is fine, but like visually you might get flecks and you may get very small pieces of chocolate that just like didn't melt all the way through. And they tend to just stick to the bottom of your cup, right? So like you don't really notice it until you get to the bottom of your hot cocoa, but like I wanna avoid that. I don't like randomly being surprised by different textures and something that's supposed to be completely smooth. So we're gonna do this. And it is gonna froth it up, but that's okay. It will go away over time, I promise. Okay. Let me do this a little bit real quick, and I'll show you guys you can kind of see we have no more specks underneath the foam. There are no more specks. It's all been blended in. It's nice and smooth, and you're not gonna get a bunch of stuff in the bottom of your cup at the end either, which is really nice. The froth will go away the longer it sits. It's just because I just did it, but yeah. So you can see like there's nothing else in there, which is nice. So this is also, again, premium baking, 4 ounces. You don't need 4 ounces for this recipe, but that is white chocolate. So if you're not gonna sit and use a blonde chocolate, white chocolate is gonna go in its place, okay? I did test out, this is where somebody asked earlier if I was gonna bring up toasted milk powder. I am, because I'm me. So this is my jar, can, whatever, of toasted milk powder. Okay. So this is essentially whole milk powder, dried whole milk powder that gets toasted until it turns this lovely brown, and develops that brown butter flavor we all know and love so well. Essentially, this is what happens in this, right? So you take a white chocolate, the milk solids that are in this turn this color and they toast, and then you get this. So I did test this. I tried just adding the toasted milk powder and adding white chocolate to see if they came to something that flavor-wise, taste-wise, was similar to this. And it didn't work the way that I wanted it to, which is why if you want to add a brown butter flavor in, and that's what you're going for, and you like want to have kind of like a warm, caramelized, like toffee kind of flavor in your hot cocoa, absolutely add this. Like absolutely go for it. You can use the white chocolate. You can add a tablespoon or so of this in if you want. About 4, I guess a tablespoon is about 8 grams of this. You're welcome to do that. I couldn't find a good balance because the toasted milk powder really kind of masked a little bit of that like warm, bright chocolate flavor I was going for with the hot cocoa. And because of that, like I couldn't, and like it was kind of like if I added too much, it kind of tasted a little bit like milk, right? Like a stewed milk kind of a thing. And like it had like a cooked milk flavor, which I didn't really care for. And if I didn't add enough of it, I was like, well, what's the point? And then also it didn't give me that like really like heavy, bright chocolate flavor that I wanted. And so I kind of abandoned that and just ended up here. The flavor was much more subtle. And so I went with that. And that's kind of where I ended up with, it's like, hey, if you want to make blonde chocolate, you should just make it like from a chocolate bar and not try to mix ingredients and mix and match stuff. It doesn't turn out the same way. But if you do want to have this flavor in there in general, you can just add this in for funsies. But if you're trying to recreate, like if you're trying to recreate this does not work the way that toasting this bar will. So yeah, I hope that answered that question because I know somebody asked about it. So yeah, let's go ahead and drink some of this hot cocoa. Do I add, guys, should I spike it? Are we gonna do that right now? What do I even put this in? Oh, here, I've got a, honestly, I can get a mug. We'll get a mug from the prop closet. Let's see. Ooh. I'm gonna use this. We're gonna use a fancy little clear Irish coffee mug here. I'm gonna add some peach. I'm gonna add some peppermint schnapps to this. All right. Yum. Okay. I'm gonna add it, but there's no space to add it. That's really good. Okay. We're gonna do, I'm gonna do half an ounce. Half a shot. Peppermint schnapps is strong. We're gonna be good to ourselves today. Measure with your heart. 2 shots of vodka. Aw, Sandra, how we love you. Okay. The chaotic energy of that woman on her cooking show was wild. Here we go. That is very nice. I'm very happy with that. We're gonna set that aside. Okay. I think, does anybody have any last minute questions? Irish cream for you? Yeah. Irish cream is I really like adding Irish cream. That's typically what I'll do is so like for the base, I'll do half milk and half Irish cream. And then add the hot cocoa mix in once I've got them up to temp. And that's kind of how we typically will spike it here in the house. My husband's threatening to come past the camera to grab this so that he can drink it. Okay, so that's it for today. Thank you very much for joining me here in the A Little Spoon kitchen. I know I went through a lot of different things today, a lot of different options, substitutes, optional items, all those things in order to customize this the way that you want it. If anybody has any questions, if you found this video and you don't want to go specifically off the recipe and you have questions about like balancing taste and making sure that if you change one thing somewhere that it will not mess up something on the other end, please, please, please feel free to reach out to me. You can send me an email on my website at alittlespoon.com in the contact. I think it's not contact me, it's who me. And there's like a section where you can actually send me an email. You can DM me on Instagram at _little_spoon. Or you can just make a comment right here underneath this video. I really hope that you like and subscribe. Thank you for joining me today, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Cool. Okay. Thank you very much for being here, my live friends. Shall we move on to the next thing? Let me clean up this mess a little bit. And we can move on. I'm trying to decide if this cooktop is going to work to get it didn't keep the oil hot enough when I was frying the potato chips, and I had to move to the burner behind me. I feel like it will probably work because there's not a lot there, and it only, like, I feel like it'll work. I'm gonna use it. We'll use this cooktop again for the marshmallows. I'm resetting, guys. You get to see me walk around the kitchen and reset. You also get to see me use a butane torch. Yeah, quick. Steal the hot chocolate. The thing is I'm gonna have to, I feel like I should like have this off to the side and be like, this marshmallow fluff is great for hot chocolate. Oh wait, I just happen to have a glass right here. I don't know. That's so good. Oh, you know what I didn't mention? Whoops, my bad. Well, for the people who are here live, your mix should last about 6 months. I have personally let it sit for longer than that. Like it's gone a year, like to be frank, to be very honest. For liability reasons, 6 months, it's good in your pantry. At room temperature, just make sure it's in a tightly lidded container away from the sunlight and you're good to go. Oh, I said 3. It's 1.5. Might be.
Pretty good.
Yep. Okay. I'm gonna need this mixer and I'm gonna need my recipe.
Oh, hey, Mom.
Yeah. Whoa. At least you're far away from me. Yikes. Okay. Oh, can you do me a favor? Can you? I mean, I can leave stream if you need me to leave stream. Come on, can you grab the cooking spray from upstairs, please?
Got a new bottle. I just use the rest last of the pan.
That's fine. Just grab another one. Make sure I have all my ingredients. Ugh. Honestly, you guys are gonna be so surprised at how easy this recipe is. Like, I'm really excited to just make this and you'd be like, oh, that was not nearly as hard as I expected it to be. Or difficult as I expected it to be.
I have a sponsorship tomorrow, I just realized.
Whoops. Okay. I like how I had like ingredients for a completely different recipe sitting on the side the entire time that we were. Okay. I guess I set this off to the side. Almost ready. So I'm trying to figure out how I want to do this. I need to have 2 things plugged in. Do you think if I unplug my computer, that'll be a problem? Okay. Hopefully my screen doesn't go dark. That's my only thought. Okay. So, marshmallows are kind of interesting. They're essentially, let's see, and this one, I mean, marshmallow fluff has egg in it, but like, you're essentially making a meringue. So you're heating up sugar really hot, putting it into egg white, whipped egg white, and then whipping it until it makes like a fluff. So We're gonna have everything kind of next to each other. And then spatula. I guess I'm using this one. I don't have a very good spatula down here. I think my stuff kind of slowly migrates upstairs. And I'm left with like weird stuff. Okay. Oh no. Hey. You guys are gonna have to bear with me for a minute because my recipe did not print with the metric ingredients. Luckily, there's only like 6 ingredients, so it's not that big of a deal. Okay. Nope. 0.5 grams. Okay, all set. Okay. I am ready when you are. Do I like block myself too much? Am I? Is that better? Cool. Okay. Oh my, never mind. Actually, I'm not ready. I forgot. The pot has to get cleaned. You guys get to watch me clean today. And it needs to get really clean too, because I'm about to put sugar in here, and that does not like water at all. All right. I guess, do we have any, since I'm doing this, do we have any questions or? Nah, it's just one, I don't need the husband to come in and clean. It's just one pot. We're good. Just didn't think about it. Mistake on my part. Just want to make sure there's nothing stuck to the sides. That'll cause this to crystallize while we're midstream. That looks pretty clean. Okay. Okie dokie. Now we are ready. Yep. All right, whenever you're ready, I'm ready. Yep. Hi, and welcome to another episode Cook Along Stream with me here at the A Little Spoon Kitchen. Today I am going to be making some toasted marshmallow fluff. So I have a marshmallow recipe, but essentially what this is a marshmallow that always stays scoopable and soft. I know that there was, I guess in the 90s and maybe the early 2000s, it was really common to use marshmallow fluff and stuff because fluffernutters were incredible and still are. But I feel like that ingredient in general has kind of like not been used as often lately. And so I kind of want to bring it back a little bit, but bring it back in a fun and lovely way. So not only are we going to make a marshmallow fluff from scratch, we are also going to toast it with some fire, have a lot of fun with a butane torch today, and we'll be able to enjoy that. And I'll give some different examples and things like that once we've got it made. So let's go ahead and get started. And I think the first thing that I want to bring up is that when you're working with sugar, especially if you're working with melted sugar and hot sugar. You want to have your pots and pans as clean as possible, as well as any of the utensils and thermometers and things that you're going to be using. So if you use a candy thermometer, I don't think I have, oh, I do have mine in here. I was wondering where I put this. So if you have a candy thermometer that looks a little like this, it has a bunch of information here for you to use. So once you start getting up into different temperatures, it'll tell you where you have softball, which is like say caramel sauce, firm ball, which is firm and hard, which are going to give you like chewy caramels kind of a thing. And then when you get to soft crack and hard crack, you're going into like lollipop territory. And so as the temperature kind of goes up, so does the final result of your sugar once it starts to cool. These are kind of fun when you're using kind of a larger pot. I am actually going to just use an instant read thermometer today because this doesn't really work with really tiny pots like this. Like it kind of does, but the sugar kind of, when you're using a small amount of sugar, it doesn't tend to kind of go up over the thermometer enough for it to really be accurate. But if you are making a bunch of caramel or something else that needs kind of the temperature gauge situation, these are really handy to have because they're hands-free and you can constantly watch that temperature go up and down since it has the clip here in the back. So this is what you're looking for if you want to specifically buy a candy thermometer. I'm not going to be doing that, but I know that this thing is kind of dirty. So we're going to clean this, and I'm going to show you guys how to clean your utensils properly to make sure that they don't mess up your caramel or your melted sugar when you are using it. So the first thing you're going to do, obviously, we're going to clean it, soap and water, and make sure that there's no like pieces or leftover anything on your probe. Okay, I'm going to dry it really good. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to take some vinegar. What's going on? Oh man. How long was it going for? Okay. Where do I need to restart, friends? The whole take? Oh God, okay. Okay, if you want to, we can, hun. Okay. Fun. I guess it's good that we broke it in half then. Yay, longer stream time. Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Reduce the risk
Yeah.
of your watch.
Anything that would cause feedback, you think?
Yeah.
Is this gonna be? I mean, it didn't do it during the first one.
I'm thinking it's like interference.
Okay. Not a big deal.
Yeah, it's not.
F it, we'll do it live. Ooh, that's an excellent idea, Unagi. Thank you for that. I'll have to mess around with it and see what I can do. Yeah, it says just happened again. Okay. Oh, okay. Sound okay? No static, it's all good. Jesus. No, it's not on right now. It's plugged in, that's why the light's there, but it's not actually on. I haven't turned it on yet. Ooh, smells like vinegar in here. Okay. Good? Okay. Grandma. Hi, and welcome back to the A Little Spoon Kitchen. Today, our cook-along is all about toasted marshmallow fluff. It's one of those ingredients that I guess marshmallow fluff in general has I haven't seen around as much as when I was a kid. We used to make fluffernutters all the time. And so it was a really popular ingredient to just like go buy a jar of marshmallow fluff and have it in your house. And I don't feel like that's kind of standard practice anymore, but I feel like we should change that. And this will teach you how to make just the marshmallow fluff in general, but also we're gonna kind of throw a twist on it and I'm gonna toast it. So we get to play with fire today, always fun. We get to toast it and then you can use that kind of in any way. I'll give you a ton of different examples for how best to use this ingredient. Let's get started. So the first thing that I wanna talk about real quick is just the cleanliness of the tools we're gonna be using. When you are working with a hot melted sugar, it's always a really good idea to have like nothing stuck on your pots and your pans, to have really, really clean utensils and kitchen tools, because anything that is not your water, and honestly sometimes even water, but water and the sugar that's being melted, or some other kind of like corn syrup or invert sugar, if you don't have those, if there's something else aside from those ingredients, it tends to clump and crystallize and then everything is ruined and you have to start all over again. So we wanna make sure that our stuff is really clean. And the way that we do that, A, is by cleaning our stuff really well. Number one, easy. But also to specifically with the tools that you're going to kind of be inserting into your pots and your pans and the things that you're using, is to make sure that you actually clean it off with a little bit of vinegar. So you soap and water, go ahead, soap and water your whole thing, clean it off really nice, and then just take a distilled vinegar, okay, and you're gonna add it onto your cloth. And you're gonna just kind of give it a nice little rub, and then you're gonna let it air dry. And you wanna make sure that it is dry when you go to use it. Now I am using an InstaRead thermometer today. I do not typically use that if I'm making a bigger batch of something. This is a candy thermometer. Okay, so this is something you can buy online in probably most cooking kitchen supply stores. It's got a little clasp clip situation going on here in the back. And the thing that's great about our candy thermometers is that they will attach to the side of your pots hands-free. So you can kind of watch your temperature as it rises and comes up as you're working, and you don't need to constantly be like setting utensils down and going back, because working with sugar can kind of be a really quick rough and tumble thing. And so having the candy thermometer is great, but if you're not using a lot in your pot, a lot of sugar, and you're not melting a lot, there's not a lot of ingredients over there, sometimes it doesn't go high enough over the bottom of the thermometer, and then it doesn't, like the temperature will be off because it's not coated enough and it's not constantly hitting that temperature down here at the bottom. So just make sure that if you are going to be using a candy thermometer, that you have at least the bottom portion of your thermometer submerged in your sugar mixture, or it's not going to come to temperature enough. Now, we are going to be going today, let's see, we're gonna be coming here in between softball and hardball, okay, for our marshmallow fluff. So I'm looking for, when we start getting all of this sugar together, we're looking for a 240 degree temperature on this, which I will be using with my InstaRead. or about 115.5 degrees Celsius. That is the temperature that you're looking for. That's when we're going to take it off the burner and then do a whole bunch of other stuff. But there are lots of other things on this candy thermometer, handy dandy candy thermometer here, that gives you something here like a softball and hardball, and they actually will like label the temperatures so that you're not like having to pay attention to specific numbers. It gives you actual like, hey, at this stage you're here, at this stage you're here. So if you're doing a caramel sauce or like chewed caramels, or if you're working like this with like a meringue or something like that, it's going to help you with that as well, to kind of keep that in mind and not make you work too hard to remember all of the numbers. I'm going to now pull out our ingredients. We've talked a little bit about just making sure our stuff is prepped, and now we're going to get started with the actual recipe. So we are going to do 1 large egg white, and it's funny that I already have an egg white here from yesterday because I was making scones yesterday, but nothing is measured in a cook-along. We don't start with anything prepped and ready to go, except maybe our tools here, so that you guys can get a recipe from start to finish. So you get to watch me do this, and we can talk about cracking eggs while I do it. Okay, so when you crack an egg, crack it on a flat surface. Don't crack it on the side of something. If you crack it on an edge, there is a much higher chance of getting shards pushed up into your egg and then ending up in your bowl or your pot or your pan or wherever. And so flat surfaces are going to be best. I am, in fact, going to crack this and then immediately move it into this because it's going to start coming out of the shell the second that I crack it. So basically, I'll have 1 full egg by the time we're done with this, because the egg white's going in here and the yolk is going into that container. So we're going to give it a nice crack. You're going to have a nice little circle, and then we're just going to kind of pull it apart. Okay, there we go. Okay, and then you're going to need 1/8 teaspoon, or about 0.5 grams of cream of tartar. The cream of tartar is there specifically to help stabilize the egg whites. It gives you a lot more flexibility and time when it comes to the appropriate amount the appropriate amount of like doneness, I guess, because you're essentially looking for certain, like when you think about like soft peaks and hard peaks and things like that, when you're making like a whipped cream or a frosting or something like that, adding the cream of tartar helps the eggs go longer before they break. And so you know that it's messed up. If it gets really foamy, you start to see those soft peaks, you start to see those hard peaks, and then suddenly it's like floating like thick pieces of foam sponge on top, and it's like, they call it weeping, where it's like gets watery on the bottom, and they actually will separate. And then you've gone too far, that's too much mixing. And so the cream of tartar kind of helps give a little bit more flexibility in the joints in there, and gives more structure to if you're making a meringue or if you're making marshmallow fluff here. So that's what that's for. Okay, this I'm going to just set here for a second while I start to get this ready. The only thing that I would say is a little bit difficult about this is that you kind of have 2 things going at once. And so getting kind of that timing going is kind of something that you need to get used to and get a feel for. So hopefully watching me do this will help you as you guys do this for yourselves. So I'm going to use a 1/4 cup of light corn syrup. There's about 60 mils or 80 grams of corn syrup. This is a much heavier viscosity than water. So if you're going by weight, it's obviously a much bigger weight than it is with the volume. So I am actually going to give this a spray, this container, with canola oil spray. And then it's gonna go in here, and then it should, in theory, slip right out, and I won't have to use a spatula. to get all of that to come out. Cool. Okay. Yeah. Okay, okay, so I have, for those of you who found this video at a later date, I'm looking over here because I have a chat over here. This is currently a live stream and you guys are watching this as part of a playlist. So I have somebody here that actually does have some marshmallow fluff in their house, and it says that it's corn syrup, which is what we're using, sugar, which is what you're using, egg white, which is what we're using, and then they have xanthan gum, which is something that's going to help with like the texture of it. So emulsification, it's gonna help with emulsification, it's gonna help with shelf stability, and it's gonna help with just like an overall smoothness and texture of the marshmallow fluff. And that's kind of what that is there for. There's nothing wrong with xanthan gum. I literally have xanthan gum down here somewhere. It's just an added ingredient to help stabilize, emulsify, all of that kind of stuff when you're working with like pastry arts and sugar and stuff like that. So nothing bad there. Okay, so we've got our corn syrup. That's all taken care of. And then we need to do a quarter cup, sorry, of granulated sugar, which is about 58 grams. And then we're gonna be adding 2 tablespoons of water, which is just going to help dissolve the sugar into our light corn syrup here and get everything kind of together and dissolved and ready to go before it starts boiling, because we're essentially boiling off the water. So anytime you boil anything that has water in it, liquid in it, right? It is going to boil up to boiling temperature, and then it's just gonna sit there. And it will sit there and sit there and sit there. And it does not matter how hot of a rolling boil you get or how low of a simmer you get. It will be the same temperature. Once the water is gone, that's when temperature starts to raise. So essentially, when you're making, say, a wet caramel, right? So if you are making something with sugar and water and you've got both of them together, it will stay at boiling point, and it just gives you more time to feel out the recipe before it starts to burn. That's really the only point of adding the water in. I like making caramel in a dry method, and I don't use any water. Because honestly, I feel like it's easier, but that's a caramel thing. And that's maybe something we can do at a future date. But when it comes to this, the water is there to kind of help give you time to prepare for the recipe. It is really the only reason it is there. It's so something doesn't just like burn right off the bat, and you have a little bit of that window. But it will stay at that temperature until those 2 tablespoons, right, that 30 milliliters of water boils off. And then once that water boils off, that's when that temperature is going to climb, and you're gonna get that temperature that's above boiling point, okay? So now we're going to add in our 2 tablespoons of water. Let me get that. I'm literally gonna just do some sink water here because why not? Okay. Although I think I used this earlier. I'm gonna use, let's see. Honestly, I probably don't even need to measure this, but we're gonna be good about this. What did I do with my? Okay, I have seemed to have lost all of my measuring spoons. I don't know where I put them. That's so funny. I've got 1 measuring spoon out. Oh, they fell underneath. I found them. Okay. And then I'm going to do this because it'll just be easier. Okay. I'm using a 1/2 tablespoon here. So I've got 7.5 milliliters going in every time. Okay, so we've got our ingredients here. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna just give this a quick stir to make sure that our ingredients are kind of combined. And I don't have my, I didn't add the sugar yet. We need to add the sugar first. But I don't want the heavy, I'm still gonna mix this a little bit. I don't want my heavier viscosity ingredients stuck to the bottom of the pan because they'll start to burn if they're not mixed with that water. So that's why you have to give this just a little bit of a mix. Let me add this in. I need a 1/4 cup, 58 grams, give or take. I'm just gonna get a bowl and I'll measure it with my kitchen scale because I used my 1/4 cup for my corn syrup. So that is currently wet. Okay. I'm like mixing it going, why don't I see any sugar in here? Here we go. Okay, back on track. Okay, so now we're just gonna give this a quick mix, make sure that everything is kind of incorporated. Okay, and I'm gonna give the walls of the pot just a little bit of a scrape down to make sure that I don't have like random stuff sitting up here and that it's all down in the bottom, and then we can turn this burner on. And like I said before, I'm looking for this to come up to 240 degrees or 115.5 degrees Celsius. Okay, and at the same time, we were gonna have this mixer going on like a low-ish setting, and I want this to just start foaming. So I want this to be boiling, right, above boiling, right? So have all of the water cooked out of it and then get to that high temperature and be ready to go at the same time that this starts to look like it's frothy and the bubbles are starting to kind of turn opaque. So obviously I can see through my egg white. It'll start to get frothy. It'll start to kind of gain more and more bubbles, and then it'll go kind of opaque and look almost like if you were gonna do like a bubble bath, right? It gets kind of like a little bit light foamy, but they're really big bubbles. They're not super, super small yet. And that's kind of what we want this to be at the time that this is boiling. Now, this cooktop, I'm used to using a full oven. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna let this start to get to a point, and then I'm gonna turn this on. It's usually I will turn them on almost at the same time. Today, I'm gonna see where this goes because I don't know how fast this is going to heat up. And this may be true too, because I use induction cooktops like for most of my cooking. And so if you don't have induction, keep in mind that different cooktops are going to cook things at different speeds. So it's more important that you know what you're looking for than it is to know like exactly the timing based on what I'm doing. So an electric cooktop is going to take longer to get to temperature. And once it gets there, it is going to be on and hot, right? An induction has a lot of like ability to really tweak and have things exactly where they want to be. Precision, that's what I was looking for. It's got a lot more precision than an electric cooktop, and then their gas is immediately gonna be hot. So just kind of keep in mind that there may be some slight adjustments on that. Okay, so I'm gonna start whisking this up now. I'm gonna start whisking it up after I have gotten the cream of tartar off the side of the bowl. Okay. Okay, we're gonna be checking our temperatures. So right now I'm at 212, which is about what you're looking for. That's 212 Fahrenheit. We're almost there. It does not take long. It does not take long at all. Okay, so it's still 212. You'll notice I've got a lot of bubbles. But there's still moisture in here, and I can still feel the water kind of evaporating out of the top of the pot. Okay, so, and you can see I've got, in this side, that I've got some bubbles kind of going, got a little bit of a froth. This is close to where I want this to be. So I'm actually gonna slow this down, and I'm gonna let this kind of hang out right here. And I want it to very slowly, the bubbles to kind of get smaller and smaller. This is now getting hot, I can tell. All right, let's see where we are. Okay, so we are rising. I'm about at 218, 220. So most of the water has boiled off of this, and now the temperature is going to start to rise. And I am going to increase my stovetop. Okay, so we have hit our temperature. Okay, I'm gonna turn this off. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just slowly pour. See if I can get this out of the way. Once you hit 240, you're done. 115.5 Celsius, you are done. Okay, we've got, let me do this real quick so you guys can see. I don't know if you can see in there. Can you see in there, honey? Yeah? Okay, so you can see I've got a lot of little bubbles. We're no longer translucent, and we are going to town. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to gently and slowly pour our sugar syrup here into our mix. And you do want to take it slow. Remember, they're eggs, okay? So we want to take it slow. You want to kind of get like 60% of the way down the bowl, so you're not spinning hot liquid syrup into the whisk attachment, because you don't want that to fling back out at you. But you also want it to be low enough that it's actually going to get mixed in, and you want to make sure that your whisk is not going so fast that it is going to kind of fly out at you. So, because like I feel like the instinct, right, is to make sure that the whisk is going really fast, but you actually don't want it to be going super, super fast. I think I have it on 4. So I have it on like the bread setting, essentially. All right, get the rest of this out. You will have sugar coating the side of your bowl. That's okay. That's okay. Okay, set that aside. And now you can already see, turn that there. You can already see kind of where we're coming to, and I'm going to keep stopping and starting this so that you guys can get a good idea of what's going on here. Okay. You can already see that it's gone almost completely white. The bubbles have gotten really, really small, but it is essentially liquid right now. And we are obviously moving into something that is not that. We want that to be like nice and fluffy. So that's kind of where we are right now, right? Okay, so we're gonna keep going. This is gonna take a minute. It's gonna take a little bit. Kind of want to put this in my mouth, but it's hot, so I'm not gonna do that. So this is gonna just keep going until we hit soft peaks. Typically, you would just let this go until it was done, right? And then you have your marshmallow fluff and you're all good to go, and there's nothing else to change, aside from adding your salt and adding your vanilla, right, to just finish it. What I wanna do is I wanna get to soft peaks, and then I wanna start torching it so that I have a lot of time in between when I'm starting to toast it and when it's actually done. So we're kind of stopping it before it's finished, toasting it, because you have to kind of mix. You basically toast the top and then you keep mixing it until you have the flavor that you want. Okay, so we're not at soft peaks yet. You can see that it's still ribbony, it's still running, it's still incorporating in, so we're gonna keep going. You definitely want to need to make the recipe. It's an easy recipe. It's just sometimes like hot sugar can be scary. Like I get it that you're having to like time things, you're having to do all that stuff, but like it's really not a difficult recipe. Marshmallows are not difficult. They seem like they would be a difficult thing, but they are not. Fluff or full on like marshmallows. Get my torch here. We can talk a little bit about that guy as well. Okay, so I want to go just a little bit more. This will have warmed up, or cooled off quite a bit. I want to go just a little bit more. I want it to really peak and like hold shape. This is another recipe that you could like 2x, 3x, like any of that if you want to have more, depending on like how much fluff you actually want. But at this point, it's essentially like the same visually as it would be if you were making like a marshmallow. Okay, I'm happy with this. Gonna take this off real quick. So you see like that it's white. Those bubbles are super, super small now. Definitely not translucent anymore. But that it kind of holds a shape. It's very slightly ribbony, but not a lot. I want to add a lot of toast to this, so I'm going to play around with that. Now, butane torches. Okay. You can just buy them online or go to a kitchen supply store. There are safeties on these, which is a good thing to have. So I highly recommend being safe with your torches. You will have an open and closed situation back here that you will turn on and off. And then there's going to be a slider. For most kind of little torches like this, there's going to be a slider that indicates a plus or a negative, right, for the size of the flame. When you're done using this, turn it closed and make sure that the flame is all the way down so you can't accidentally do something because one of the things was in whatever position. So just make sure at a bare minimum, you're at least turning this down so that that flame is really small if you press this back button by accident while you're handling it. Something else, in case you do not know, these are refilled through the bottom here. Sometimes there are different kinds of nozzles that will come with your fuel, but essentially it'll come with like a little nozzle that fits into the bottom, and then you just press until you smell butane, and then you take it off and let it dissipate before you use it. But essentially, you know it's full when you start to smell it a little bit because it's escaping. It's got too much in there and it's escaping out the bottom. So just like keep in mind. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and open this guy up, and then I'm going to give it a nice big flame. I'm gonna do probably about 3/4. The thing about this is I want it to be long enough to reach down into the bottom of the bowl. But I don't, so I can't kind of play on the safe side of this. Typically, I'll have like a smaller flame and not really worry about it. But because I'm so far away from the top, I kind of have to have this as a longer flame. And I'm just gonna go right in there. And you can see we are torching. Okay, and then drop it down in and let it mix again. And we're just gonna kind of keep doing this in little waves. And you'll get like flecks of the toasted marshmallow. All worked up into, yeah, I'm really worried that I'm gonna like set off an alarm somewhere. Our other house had like windows and all sorts of stuff that I could use. And the faster that you whisk, the smaller the pieces get broken up. And the slower you whisk, the larger chunks of toasted marshmallow fluff you have. So like this is already gonna taste like toasted marshmallow. And it's like the amount of toast that you give is going to depend on what your end result wants to be. So, for example, I have an ice cream recipe that's a s'mores ice cream recipe, and it needs to be really, really strong toasted flavor in the fluff, or you don't taste it in the ice cream, because when things are cold, they have less aroma, you taste them less, plus it's got chocolate ganache in it, and it's got a brown butter ice cream and a whole bunch of other things going on that are going to mask a vanilla, like a toasted vanilla flavor, essentially. And so you kind of have to make sure that you're doing all of the things when it comes to the marshmallow fluff for that specific recipe. But if I'm just looking to, you know, I don't know, use it to top some ice cream or put on in between cookies. Like if you wanted to put this in between like a macaron or something like that, yes. You're not going to need it to be as strong, because the cookie, that like, you know, that French style cookie or whatever is not as, it's not as strong in flavor as some of the other things, unless you are like flavoring the cookie itself. But typically they're not. They're like almond and vanilla. So it's not super strong of a flavor. Yeah, should I turn on the little fan over by that? I feel like I should be doing this underneath the microwave. Do it under the microwave with the vent on. Okay. So we're at like soft medium peaks, but you can see all of the little pieces of the toasted marshmallow kind of in there. This is already a pretty good flavor for me for what I plan to use it for today. But you could keep going if you really wanted to. I am going to do probably one more and then be pretty happy with where I am. I do also need to add salt and vanilla to this, because I did not do that. So we're going to go one more round, and then I'm going to add the salt and the vanilla, which I should have added before I started torching, but I got too excited about fire. So we'll do this real quick. Actually, I'm going to end up doing two. I'm going to end up doing 2 more rounds. So one right now. We're going to add in our vanilla and our salt. Whoops. I need a half a teaspoon, 2.5 milliliters or 2.2 grams of vanilla. And 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. A homemade oatmeal toasted cream pie sounds really good. Yeah, it does. And you could do, if you did like an oatmeal cream pie with the toasted marshmallow and then dipped half of it in chocolate, you could have like a s'mores kind of situation. That would be really nice. No, I really think about if you melted some chocolate, right? So like chopped up some chocolate bars and put them in like a bowl and then topped it with the marshmallow fluff and then used like graham cracker sticks or pieces to like eat and kind of make like a s'more dip. I feel like that would be a really great way to do that. We are almost there. I'm gonna do a little bit of quick whipping. And then I want to do a slow one so I get like nice big chunks of the toasted pieces in this. Okay. So I am now around like hard peak kind of situation. It's always fun. So like, you know, you're about done when the ribbon connects. So like I'm pulling up the head, the tilt head here of my KitchenAid, or like if you lower, like if you have another stand mixer that maybe like has like a lowering mechanism, and that line of marshmallow fluff just kind of stays intact and doesn't like fall, like the weight of it doesn't just kind of like break it apart. You're like, okay, I'm done. You can go like all the way down. I always love the way this looks. It's like you can't see any of the lines in the marshmallow, and then you start toasting it and they all show up. Okay, that was the last one. Hopefully the alarm does not go off and I am good. I'm gonna do a really gentle, like that's it, I'm done. nice big pieces. And there you have it. Our toasted marshmallow fluff. Yum. I do plan on adding the, actually, I'm going to do it right now. I made some hot cocoa earlier. I've got half a glass of some hot cocoa that I'm about to, it's been sitting here, but it's still warm-ish. So I'm going to add a scoop of this into my hot cocoa. Actually, I have a spoon that I started with. We'll do this. Maybe 2 spoons. And then I'm going to use a spoon to eat. Yum. That's really nice. So yeah, you can use it to top hot cocoa. I know I mentioned the ice cream earlier. You can just have it in your house. Why not? You can use it for fluffernutters. Honestly, Nutella, peanut butter, and toasted marshmallow fluff in a sandwich sounds absolutely fantastic. If you want to mess around with that. Oh my God, that's good. That may be too good. I think I'm, that's really good. I've never mixed these two things together before. I just have them as separate recipes. And that was an exceptional idea if I do say so myself. Okay, so the homemade fluff, now that we have it made, I'll scoop it out of here, put it in a jar or a bowl or some kind of lidded container, okay? It will be good on your counter for a week and good in the refrigerator for 3 weeks. It doesn't have preservatives in it the way that something on a shelf that you're buying at the store will have. But in all honesty, like, I mean, it's not that much. So I feel like we could eat that in 3 weeks, right? I feel like we could do that. Of note, when you put this in the refrigerator, it's not solid, but it's definitely not the same kind of like scoopy, runny texture that you have when it's warm. So if you want it to come back to like the still warm, just made, like really kind of, right? If you want to come back to this texture, you're going to want to take it out of the fridge, either scoop it out and let it sit in a bowl and come to room temperature, or you can, I mean, I wouldn't say put it in the microwave, but I would say at least get it to room temperature before you start using it to scoop and do whatever you want to do with it. You could also, and stick with me on this one, you could also scoop it out, put it in a bowl, let it come to room temperature or somewhere around there, and torch it again, just to kind of like re-umph the flavor and give it a little bit of extra warmth that you otherwise wouldn't be able to do because you can't kind of put it in a stovetop or in a microwave or any of that kind of stuff because it's going to heat really fast. So yeah, not making it a week in your house. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. 3 weeks, I need 1 night. That's exactly what I mean. So yeah, hopefully this felt easy. Hopefully this felt like something that you guys could take with you to do at home. I mean, this is what, a 15-minute recipe? Like super, super easy without all of my talking, I should say. It's like a 15-minute recipe without all my talking. It really doesn't take a long time. And it's so good. It's so good. So thank you so much for anybody who watched this video on YouTube and found this whenever you found it, but while it was not live. Really appreciate you being here. If anybody has any questions about this recipe in general or any other recipe, please feel free to reach out to me. You can contact me from my website at alittlespoon.com. You can also send me a DM on Instagram at _little_spoon. And you can comment, ask questions here underneath this video. If you do like the content that you see here, please like and subscribe. If you're interested in hearing more about my content, finding other content, I do post on Instagram all the time. I do Insta Lives once a month with a friend of mine, usually about photography, but also sometimes about cooking. So kind of plays along in the food photography cooking sphere there. And I do these cook-alongs once a month here on YouTube. It's the first Sunday of every month. I do also have a Patreon. So if you feel like monetarily supporting, you are absolutely welcome to do that. You do not have to, but it is absolutely welcome. If you do join my Patreon, we have a really fun group of people. You get access to a private Discord, and we just hang out and talk about food and where we're eating and the restaurants we go to and the stuff we're failing at home and all that stuff. I actually posted a picture last night of a testing mishap. I was making scones and I added layers in between or ingredients in between the layers to kind of give it like different stuff that were more liquid than they needed to. Well, not what they needed to be, but it was too much. And they like spread, and I just had like one ginormous scone in a pan. Like they all like spread into each other. And I was like, hey guys, look what I did today. So it's fun. We have a laugh and we really enjoy it. But yeah, you get access to a private Discord server. We hang out once a month. And most of the times behind the scenes stuff that isn't posted out in the world gets posted there. I ask a lot of questions about what people want to see and what I'm doing, and they kind of get a behind the scenes of that. So if that's something you're interested in, you are welcome to ask me questions about it or just join. It's really up to you. I also have a monthly newsletter. Whew, this is turning into a long thing. I have a monthly newsletter that you can sign up for either at my link in bio on Instagram or on my website. Now, it's like down in the bottom if you scroll to the bottom of any of the pages. Get a newsletter once a month. I don't bother you with really anything else. It's just a, hey, here's what to look for, here, and here's replays from last month. So everything's kind of consolidated into one place. Thank you very, very much for joining me today at the Little Spoon Kitchen, and I hope to see you in the future. Bye. Cool. You want to taste this? It's so good. Oh my God. It's not, the hot chocolate is not hot anymore, but it doesn't matter. That is really good. And I am trying really hard not to finish that before he gets here. Whew. Goodness, friends. I got too excited about fire. I completely forgot about the vanilla and the salt. It's a spiked hot chocolate day, I think. I think so too. I think it definitely is. I don't even know. Is there anything? Did I leave anything out? I think I got everything. There's a lot of like explanatory and descriptive writing in the instructions to help. So like if what I did today is like, maybe that wasn't enough. There's a lot of description there, so. Isn't that really good?
Yeah, it's good. You've never mixed these before?
No. Because I made the hot cocoa mix recipe like years before I played around with this. And so like, and even like on the website, I think they were like at least a couple months apart. And so it wasn't like, yeah. The bonus butane lesson. Yeah, I feel like it's important to give instructions. So like here, we're putting the safety on, we're turning the flame down, and I'm making sure it's closed so I don't mess that up.
Max.
Well, it's gotta be on too, yeah.
Wow.
I know. Don't
loud.
muzzle sweep me. What are you doing? You make me nervous.
I'm taking it in the dark. So I don't want it. Hey, yo. Oh my God. Yeah, it's like.
No, it's the flame is like, yeah.
It's like 10 inches. Huge.
Oh my God. You did not follow any of the instructions. Safety first. He makes me nervous. But yeah, I developed the marshmallow fluff for the s'mores ice cream. And I have like so many ideas about like where else you could use it. And I just haven't gotten around to doing it. So this was like a like kind of like one of those things where I was like separately these recipes are really quick, right? And so I don't want to have a stream that lasts 30 minutes and it's done or something like that. And I was like, well, what two things can go together? And I was like, I really want to try a hot chocolate with this. Now it actually worked better than I expected because I did put peppermint schnapps in this. So I've got a toasted marshmallow with peppermint schnapps. It almost makes it like a caramelized, almost peanutty kind of flavor when you're eating the fluff with a little bit of the chocolate. So that was like a pleasant surprise. And I don't know why it ended up that way, but they blended pretty well. But I probably would do whiskey or just a regular hot cocoa with the toasted before doing it with like a mint one again. No, not me going to my kitchen drawer, realizing my torch was at max with the safety off. Oh my goodness. Okay, do you think adding peppermint schnapps, you could add in something like a soft peppermint stick for adding more peppermint if it's non-alcoholic? You could do a peppermint stick. For me, that would be more of a garnish. I'd probably just use like a drop or two of peppermint extract. Fluff on top of a chocolate cookie. Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking is it's like if you did, like we were talking earlier about like in between like an oatmeal cream pie kind of a thing. So like oatmeal and then the marshmallow fluff is like the center. And then if you could do as well if you did a chocolate chip oatmeal kind of situation, like a DoubleTree cookie. But make it a sandwich with a toasted marshmallow in between would be really good. Yeah. All of the things. Like a whoopie pies. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Whoopie pies. An oatmeal cream pie is the Little Debbie branded name for whoopie pie. Or close enough, I should say. Kind of close. A whoopie pie isn't it more cake-like than like a cookie? Cakesters are the new whoopie pies. Okay, there we go. Cool. More cake. Okay. Okay, cool. Yum. But you'll see, okay, I mean, I know this is like way after the fact and we're not even like, but like, I didn't develop a skin. It sat there that whole time that I was making the fluff, and it's still, there's nothing at the bottom. There's like a little bit of like syrup, but like there's not like just pieces that you're like getting, I don't know. I feel like it's really hard to get hot cocoa, like homemade hot cocoa mixes, to not have like pieces of chocolate just like hanging out. Like there's nothing, like a whisk just doesn't do it. It doesn't melt it enough and get it like combined enough to not like separate out or be weird. Ooh, a key lime, fluff on a key lime pie, yeah. Yep. And you could flavor it. Add some like lime zest or other stuff in there to like give it a little bit of extra flavor. Why not? Yeah, I'll have to check out. I will check out a fudge recipe. Yeah. That would be a good one for sure. Okay, I have a lot to clean up today. So I guess let me get started on that. It was really good to hang out with you guys. Thank you for joining me on my cook along today. You've already heard me do 2 outros, so I'm not gonna do the whole long spiel today. But yeah. Hit me up, ask me questions, hang out in my community, subscribe, do all the things. It's fun. We're a fun group, right? At least a nerdy group. If you're a nerd, you are welcome here. All of the food stuff. Chuck has a lot to clean up. No, I'm gonna help. I need to, at a minimum, I'll be putting all the ingredients away where they go, at a minimum. And then everything else, in theory, will just be like in a dishwasher. It shouldn't be too bad. He has worked plenty. Okay. Thank you. I will see you guys later. Probably during the week, I'll stop in and hang out a little bit during one of Lep's streams. I am going on a business trip. Yeah, before her trip on Thursday. I'm going on a business trip, so I'll be gone for about a week. It's gonna be, I'm gonna be nervous. Wish me luck. I'll be talking to people, just terrifying. But we're gonna do it. We're gonna make some friends, get some business cards, do some stuff, learn a lot. He'll be fine. It'll be good. But yeah, I guess streams will probably start a little bit late because he has to take the kids to school while I'm gone. Now, there's plenty of food. There's plenty. Our deep freezer and our fridge is stocked with stuff. He's good. The fluff will be gone. The kids are probably gonna go nuts for that. Okay. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for joining me today. It was fun. I will see you guys next time. I think we're doing, let's see, today is January 4th, February 1st, and we're gonna make chili. I'm gonna do a chuck roast chili. The reason that it's a chuck roast chili is because it was a better keyword for SEO purposes than short rib chili. But you can choose whatever cut of meat you want. But if you wanna, at a minimum, learn about making homemade chili paste, and you don't have to make like the whole chili if you don't want to, but we'll go through kind of all the peppers and all the things and all that. So it'll be fun. I know it's weird. It's weird because like a chuck roast is a very common roast to use. A really common cut of meat, but it's like the same name, so it's weird. Oh man. Okay. Goodbye. I'll see you guys next time.